Welcome back to the Smoking Business Podcast with your boy Brendan Robinson. I am your host. We got a special guest here today, man. This is day one in this industry. Going back to the med only days.
When you needed a card to buy the weed,
Come on, man.
right?
You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about the one and only guys, Joe Larusso. What's up, baby?
Thank you.
Now, Joe, what I do a little different on the Smoking Business Podcast, bro. I don't go too deep into my guests in terms of their intros. I would really like for you guys all to kind of introduce yourself to the audience, let them know who you are, your what, your why, and then we jump right into the interview, brother.
Damn. I mean, I've never really been good with intros, but you
Talk
set
your shit,
you
man.
set me up. That was an alley oop. I gotta dunk on this one.
Come
But
on.
yes, Joe Larusso. World knows me now as Crusty on Instagram. Like this man said, been in the weed game out here in Jersey since just about day one.
Uh-huh.
That's how we linked up. Currently now brand managing for Garden Greens. Very, very grateful for that opportunity, that team, the whole team. Like, just to give a shout out as we get started from everyone. Everyone sees me, Toast, Wasu, Aisha, Lou, but like, shout out to the people at our facility that are
Hell yeah.
putting that work
Hell
in.
yeah.
This beautiful work that I'm smoking right now. But yeah, that's my intro.
Yeah, bro. I mean, like you talk about Garden Greens and the wonderful people there. I know we came it towards you guys and know some of those folks. Shout out to Amanda from Rec House and all that kind of stuff, man. I want to get into all that, but I want to start at the very beginning, right?
Okay.
Before we get into who Joe is today, I want to talk about who Joe was growing up. I want to talk about who Joe was when he was out here when we was illegal and they were trying to lock you the fuck up for smoking on it, man. Take me back to those days.
Oh man, dude, like the early days, young Joe. I mean, sorry, mom and dad, definitely gonna watch this, but I got curious with the plant like 12, 13.
Okay, you were early.
Yeah, I hung out with a lot of older cats,
Okay,
my older brother's friends a lot, and just fell in love with it then at that moment. And that young Joe in the early days of weed for
hmm,
me, I've always been into like skateboarding, clothing, streetwear like that.
okay,
That kind of lifestyle always went hand in hand with weed for me.
for
So it
sure.
was always like, even to this day, of how I treat weed goes back to that, because it was always like that Supreme box logo T-shirt,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
that. Now for me, it's the black Myron jar with a Tenco logo on
for
it.
sure, for sure.
But yeah, dude, go way, way back. And apologies, mom and dad watching, like, fell in love with the plant early on, 13,
Oh wow,
12
you were
years.
early.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry again. But fell in love with it then, and always put it in that lifestyle, and ended up further in the dark side of that kind of streetwear skateboard lifestyle. Got addicted to some substances, which later on, now 4 years ago, weed got me back on track
Okay.
from.
Okay.
I do have about 8 years sober from those substances though.
Okay.
Like I said, halfway through, re got into weed, and then from finding it again in that stone cold sobriety got me to the medical
For
program,
sure.
like we talked about
For
on the
sure.
intro.
Okay. Now you talk about being 8 years sober. Congratulations, first and foremost.
Thank you.
Um, I don't know how deep you want to go into this, but like one big topic for me is always weed as an alternative medicine, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I'm someone that watched her mother take opioids because she had diabetes and cancer and was in so much pain, Percocet, Oxycontin. And I watched what they do to her, and she had to take it because she was so against weed.
Hmm.
I then see obviously the opioid crisis where folks are abusing those drugs. Like for yourself, man, like number one, how do you get out of that rut? And then how did cannabis kind of serve as a or did it serve as a suppressant, alternative? Like what was that mindset for you?
Well, for me, and I won't dive like too deep on
For
this,
sure.
I want to start off with saying too, is like, just because I said I found weed early on, it's not why I did opiates.
Got it.
It's not why I expect. That's a totally different situation.
For sure.
Like, I'd love that stigma of weed is this gateway drug to these other substances debate kind of to squash, you know? Um, but yes, like, was on opiates. Funny you mentioned with your mom and
Hmm.
seeing that. Um, hit a super bad rock bottom, spiraled into heroin. Things got worse quick. and then got sober moving to Philly, right outside that area.
Okay.
Did the AA program, did sponsorship, had my own sponsor, and it helped, dude. Like that's where when you bring in of like how they go hand in hand, I do believe weed, cannabis, whatever you want to call it, helps in sobriety. But I do believe someone, the individual, or for me specific, I needed the structure of AA and that 4 years of complete no substance, no drinking, smoking, nothing
Hmm.
to learn how to be an adult again.
For sure.
But with that, and I'm gonna probably touch on this a lot. I'm very faithful, you could say. I have a very strong belief in God, but like I had that coming to God moment and found cannabis again because 4 years into this 8 year sobriety, I'm noticing I'm still miserable, dude. Like my mind's not changing, my mood isn't like, and I don't know why.
Hmm.
I'm doing everything this program told me. And one night I'm with one of my homies, we're just hanging out, and like I start explaining all this. This individual is not in the program, they were not sober, they were a weed smoker. And they tell me like, "Dude, why don't you just give this a shot? Like there's a medical program going on. All this stuff is helping people." And I'm like, "Shit, you might be right."
Hmm.
But like real right away, everyone the thing when you're in sobriety and people want you to smoke weed with them, they like don't want to be in the room when you first smoke it. They want you to be like, "All right, you try it
Hmm.
first, and then I'm gonna come hang out with you."
Real shit though.
So like they were like, "Yo, I don't want to be a part. I'm gonna leave this pen here and I'm gonna walk out the room. Whatever you do, like that's between you, the pen, and whoever."
For sure.
They left. I hit that pen. It was the best night of my 4 years of sobriety, dude.
Oh wow, man.
And now I'm not saying like if you're battling addiction or if you're in recovery, try this right away.
For sure.
It's different to every person. But like best night of my life.
Hmm.
I giggled. We
Yeah.
went, made like grilled cheeses, like hung
Uh,
out, played music. It was awesome.
no, man. I mean, what a story of just fucking perseverance, bro. And obviously that was tough for you, but like what I love about it is that you took 4 years to just figure out, okay, who am I?
Yeah,
Like, who am I? And although you may, like, to your point, you're like, yeah, okay, I wasn't happy, I wasn't feeling this and that. The plant may have brought you joy, but you kind of knew who you were. You had a foundation of who you were. And then the plant, to me, like Bob Marley says, it just reveals us to ourselves.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And yeah, brother, I just want to kind of just talk about that full circle moment where like you're now, past that, you're now, smoking cannabis as a regular thing. You're a guy that graduated with a business administration degree.
Hmm.
How do you end up working in cannabis?
It's wild because with the addiction story,
Mhm.
dude, I ended up homeless at this point, ended in the Philly area, no job, $7, like whole nine.
Uh-huh.
And I applied to 2 jobs. It's wild. My degree has nothing to do with how I got into cannabis.
Okay.
Applied to 2 jobs. One was the Estee Lauder, the makeup company's warehouse, just packing boxes, and one was the Zoomies at an Oxford Valley mall.
Okay.
And I got the job at Zoomies, and that's where I got resubmerged back in and like said earlier of like streetwear,
Skateboarder.
skateboarding,
Yep. Yep.
and got to build my first network. You and I talked about networking when we got here.
Absolutely.
Dude, got to build my first network there and got to be introduced to dope brands like my boy Zach with the High and Mighty, my boys Ethan and Bryson at Petty Snacks. Did work for Petty Snacks for a little bit. Um, they kind of showed me of like how to manage the brand, and both those brands had something in common, and it was weed.
Okay.
And now with that 4 year into sobriety, start smoking. I then like started exploring of like Jersey has a medical program.
Mhm.
There's retail stores opening everywhere. I have a retail background now. Like you said, my degree was in
For
business.
sure.
I have this retail background now. Let me apply to these dispensaries. Like they could use a manager or a bud tender. Like
Hell yeah.
at this point, I'll take anything, but I want to be on like the weed side and eventually start building weed brands and helping weed
For
brands.
sure.
And dude, I sat in the back room of my Zoomies store. Shout out to Zoomies real quick.
Shout out
Um,
to Zoomies, man.
but like just applying to dispensary after dispensary.
Okay.
And the first one, first and actually first of only two to call me back was Zenleaf.
Okay.
And that's how I got in. I went to the Zenleaf on Route 1 in Lawrence. Like, that's my home store. That's my day one in cannabis
Yeah.
shop and experience. Went there as an inventory manager.
Okay.
And that's how I got into cannabis without even the business degree.
Crazy, man.
And like, I'm not saying don't get a degree,
Mm.
like go pursue education, further your knowledge, like learn the plant, learn the industry, but like I didn't have to use that at all to get
So
that.
your degree wasn't a requirement to be an inventory control manager at Zenleaf.
I just had the retail management experience from
Mm.
Zoomies.
It's interesting you say that, right? So a lot of people don't know this about myself. I'm a college dropout.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And prior to cannabis, I worked in business banking with Santander Bank for 10 or 12 years.
Mhm.
I was top dog. Number one in the whole country, went on trips, all that type of shit. People are always like, man, you must have a degree. You must have your master's. I'm like, nah. To your point, I had early retail experience. So working at banks as a CSR and doing different things
Okay.
like that. So when I went to apply for these roles, I had the years of experience, which at that time they were replacing with your degree. Right. So I'm not saying don't get your degree either, but proof is in the pudding,
Stay in school. Stay in school and smoke weed.
Real shit. So, all right, you're inventory control manager with ZenLeaf. What are you doing? What's your day to day? What is that like?
I dude, with being in so early, I was in a very fortunate position. So like the early days of our medical only, the inventory manager got to do the ordering for that shop.
Okay.
And that's kind of like my day to day was that of just balancing inventory. At that time, it really wasn't many out. You knew how it was in the
Yeah,
mid days. We had four
for
options.
sure.
So like just learning how to talk to wholesale guys and put in orders, like all still to this day, all the wholesale guys I had back then are very good friends of mine. So
Hmm.
like we've had that bond since. But yeah, bringing in orders, finding different SKUs from different vendors,
For
and
sure.
so on.
Now I know shortly thereafter you became the GM.
Yes.
Okay.
Did the inventory control for about a year.
Okay.
And then GM at that time got promoted to an out of state position.
Okay.
I bumped up to GM. And then oddly enough, dude, it was like April 21st was the day rec happened.
Correct.
I became the GM like March 21st.
So a month before.
Yeah.
So you're a month in the day this thing goes
Yeah.
recreation.
And like it was literally, dude, I'll never forget those days. It was just phone call,
Uh
it's coming. Oh shit. It's like a week away.
huh.
And fortunately, like now looking back on it, I'm grateful for it. At the time, it sucked. But
Uh
like
huh.
we were one of the first 11 stores open, and every single day the amount of people coming in was
How
crazy.
many people were y'all seeing a day at that time?
At least 1,500 to 2,000.
Golly.
Like, dude, I'll never forget that April 21st, we shut down Route 1 on Lawrence. Like, people came from Florida, like we met couples flew from Texas
Mhm.
for it. It's crazy too of how much the plant brings people together
Oh yeah.
cuz you met people from different states on the same line.
Yeah. And listen, just for the audience, like, this is Smoking Business Podcast, talk a little business. Just do a little math. You know what I mean? When you're seeing 1,500 to 2,000 people a day, and let's call the average ticket $52.
I
Okay.
mean, at that time it was
Probably was, yeah, I would
six
say,
one eighth
yeah,
and
I
that
was
was
to say,
it. Like
yeah.
that was the other thing is we got by, dude. We only really had eighths of flour
uh,
and if that pre rolls and some distillate cards.
no sales.
Mm-mm.
No, not that time.
Mm-mm.
So you talking fucking average ticket 65 to $90. 2,000 people a day. You do the math, right? What a time, man.
Yeah,
What a time.
it was crazy,
Yeah.
but
I,
that's actually too like those days formed a lot of bonds for a lot of
I,
us.
I can imagine, man. Now, so you're the GM, you're kicking ass. You then become the senior purchasing manager.
Correct.
Okay, tell me what that is.
So that was then that's where I mentioned on being the inventory manager,
Uh-huh.
getting that buying experience. I then was doing that for all three of the Zen leaves
Okay, okay,
through the like next stretch of adult
for
use.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, that's hard, man. So, I mean, you transition from that, and then before we get into Garden Greens, I'm just curious. You go from ZenLeaf, which is a retailer,
Hmm.
your background's in retail, Zoomies retail, and then you go do your thing with a cultivation company in
Yeah.
Garden Greens. What was the motivation to even do something like that?
Well, I found them got set up with a tour
Okay.
and met Josh. I mean, I'm sure he's gonna hate he doesn't like the light on him at all. Like we were talking, you and I are in the corner dudes, like just keep to he is a very keep to himself dude.
Okay.
But I met him, we'd spoken on the phone. He invited me down for a tour, and the day I met him, I knew something special was gonna happen
Okay.
with Garden Greens.
Okay.
Like the dude is a very I'm very blessed to have him as a mentor at this stage.
That's awesome, man.
Um, and like, dude, we just went. I went on one of the tours like we had you guys on, and I could feel it. Like I felt like that 12-year-old Joe again of like, this is my reintroduction to weed.
Real shit.
Because, you know, people like you and I at our core are weed people.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
we were talking about earlier, we got licensed stuff and we buy stuff where we got to get it.
Listen, man.
But I knew at that point I was back where real weed was and I wasn't in that corporate weed anymore.
Yep.
And I don't want to sound like I'm talking shit on corporate weed. I'm very grateful for someone that got into it without using my degree, the platform that Zenleaf and Verano gave me,
Mhm.
but I'm not a corporate guy, like not putting a vest on and I'm not doing all that. But like at that moment in our grow, I knew I wanted to sign with Garden
Real
Greens.
shit, man.
And dude, halfway through the tour, I've never told this story to anyone really at like this kind of scale. We're in one of the rooms and Josh is showing me Sunset Sherbert.
Okay.
And I'm just like, cool story, bro. Like it's not 2022 anymore. We're in 24. And he's like, all my friends said the same thing about this. And he's like, but I don't care. I want to smoke it and we're gonna grow this and
Mhm.
sell it.
Mhm.
And I just had that light bulb of holy shit, like you just tell me we're gonna sell what we want to smoke, not like
Yeah.
something we're being told. And he's like, yeah, that's what this is about. And right at then I was like, dude, listen, I'll sign a wholesale agreement, I'll get you lined up, put you
Yeah.
on the shelves. And he's like, oh no, your offer letter's on my desk. Like I was like, cool,
Oh,
let's
that's
go
hard,
sign
man.
it. Yeah.
That's hard, man. That's hard, man.
And since then, dude, it's been a blessing to be on the cultivation side because I'm really a nerd about the genetics and how they grow it. And that's where, as I mentioned earlier, shout out to that team of like the Summers, the Alexes, Savannahs, Amanda, like you
For
mentioned,
sure.
Pat, Rabbit, everyone, Jeremy, our director of cultivation, everyone back there is just in love with the plant and
Mm.
in love what they do. So like to be able to witness that, that's what made me want to go to Garden Greens too.
Absolutely, man. Man, that's awesome, man. That's a dope ass story, and that's real shit, man. So, like, let's talk about Garden Greens. Number one, when we came to tour your facility, I was blown away by how big the motherfucker is.
Yes, and
Huge,
shout out to the D'Andrea family, the owners of our license. It was their original produce storage and cold packing facility.
and they've been around since what 1917.
Yep, over 100 years.
I mean, man, like, how do you guys formulate a relationship like that? How do you get this renowned family that's been just amazing for over a freaking century
Well,
to buy into cannabis?
they, like you've said, they've been in Vineland the whole time.
Okay,
They saw the licenses coming. They wanted to get in. They got in and then quickly realized of like, wait, we grow blueberries. We don't grow weed.
for sure.
They got Josh involved and then they formed their bond. I've now to this day, the fathers, his son, both daughters, they're all incredible people. Um, but like they're just super stoked on what they're giving us the opportunity to do for them. And
Mhm.
it's a beautiful relationship.
Man, that's amazing, man. I love when people do good business and then the relationships make sense,
Yeah.
right? Because it's sustainable at that point. Speaking of sustainability, I love the way that Garden Greens hit the ground running. I remember you guys dropped your biscotti, and I want to
Uh
say Z Pie right out the
Z
gate.
Pie, RIP the biscotti, dude. I'm so mad we got rid of that one. It was one of my favorites.
uh,
It's a funny story too, because the day Josh decided to announce it was gone was the day of my birthday. And like
oh man,
dude, it's all on Instagram, like RIP Biscotti, this is the last run.
god damn.
I walked in at work, I'm like, dude, you're an asshole. Can I curse on this?
You can
All
do
right,
that. You
cool.
can do whatever
Because
you
I
listen
talk
to
some
the
shit
Smoking Business
sometimes.
podcast, bro. You do whatever you want.
But yeah, dude, I walked in, I was like, you're an asshole, dude. It's my birthday and you're getting rid of it.
That sucks, man.
But like that's what I've learned on the cultivation side. You know, there's certain numbers those plants gotta hit
Mhm.
and it could smoke the best, but
But I want to make sure you guys get your flowers though, man, because
Thank you.
people don't keep it real in this industry, and I'm gonna keep it real right now. Garden Greens dropped Biscotti Z Pie as an independent cultivator at a time when all you were really getting was the MSO flower.
Yeah.
Were you guys the first independent?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one. So this is the first time we're experiencing anything outside of an MSO. And boy, you guys gave us hope. You guys gave us hope because it was like, shit, this is a possibility. This kind of weed in the market is a possibility.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, since you guys, we've had the, the EVs and the Clay Nines and the Full Tilts. Shout out to all of them.
Dude,
But
all killer flower. Like, that's the other
great
thing
shit. You know what I'm
I
saying?
wanna make that clear is, like, we don't wanna compete with those guys, like, we all just wanna smoke good weed at the end of the day, so,
Hmm.
like, the more of us, the better it is for this market.
Bro, I couldn't agree more, man. So I just wanted to just give you guys a major shout out with that. Um, you know, well, Garden Greens has been around what, a little over a year,
Nah, we haven't even been
not even
a
a
year
year.
yet. We
Uh,
launched right around March.
Okay, wow, shit. Okay,
Yeah,
so I mean, man, congratulations, you guys are killing it.
dude, it's been a wild ride. I came on in February, and it was quiet at first because, like, we were packaging the flower, harvests were starting to come down, and then we hit that March launch, and March all the way up until today has just been
Just go,
crazy.
love it, bro.
And from now of, like, those early days when it was just me out on the road, like, getting jars to people, showing the flower to people, and so on, to now having the team I've had to go on the road has been a crazy
I
experience.
mean, I'm glad you bring that up because we can't have a conversation without talking about your team. When I think about Loud Pack and Aisha and Toast and uh, Exotic, like it's like they all are so unique yet so authentic, and it just matches with the brand, man. I just really love the way you guys market yourself, market your brand, and allow them to be who they are.
That's the, like, the thing that I've noticed makes it work is each one of them is essentially a brand of their own. Like, I've known Exotic Wasu,
Mhm.
dude, almost 3 years now because we worked together at that Zen Leaf.
Yep.
Always knew he was a talented artist. Always knew, like, when the opportunity would come, bring him along for the ride. And dude, I had big expectations for him, but he even exceeded everything I could have thought of. Dudes like Toast, who has his own brand, like Aisha and her Canna John stuff. Nobody knows him by his actual name.
I don't. How about that? I don't know his name.
Everyone knows him as
I don't
Loud
know. I
Pack
know his toast.
and same as Toast. Like, these individuals all have something that represents themselves and they know how to maintain it.
Real shit.
And that's really what makes our machine work because each one of them knows at the end of the day, like, yes, you have the Toast brand, the Exotic brand, but we as a team are Garden Greens.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
like, they push that as hard as they push themselves.
for sure. And that's the hardest thing. I don't want to just breeze past that, right? Because like you do it with Garden Greens, we obviously have our squad with Mud Brothers and our other
Yeah.
organizations. Like you got to have people that really believe in the brand
Mm-hmm.
because in cannabis, it's flashes in the pan. I don't care how good you are, right? There's going to be constant flashes in the pan. Let me
Yep.
say what I mean by that. You're going to have a 3 month run where you're just on fire.
Oh,
You're a personal brand, whatever you got going, you're on fire. And if you show colors that ain't the right colors
yeah. Yep.
in those 3 months, when simmer down a little bit in those 9 months, I'm gonna remember the colors you showed.
Oh, yeah.
And I think people too often get a little fire going, and they forget where like how they got there and where they're trying to go. And I give you case in point. Every chance I get, I'm shouting out air. Every chance I get, we're talking about that collaboration. You know why? I don't care how hot Mud Brothers gets. We wouldn't have got here without them.
No.
And I'm never gonna forget that. I'm never gonna let that slip my mind. I don't care what you know what I mean? Like I'm never gonna
Yep.
let that. And I see too often people collaborate with brands or work with brands, and the second their brand starts getting a little motion, they forget where the fuck they came from.
Dude, that's like what we were talking about earlier when I pulled up is like, I told you I always keep my team on the words of hungry and humble. You and your team move the same way is you treat everyone with the same respect no matter what point of your career or your image, your brand gets because I love that saying, as quickly as you got to the top, you'll see the same people on the way down. And it's exactly that. You just have to watch how you move, treat people, and And remember where you came from, you know, because a lot of people do, like you said, switch up. They get that 15-second reel on Instagram that goes crazy. Next thing you know, they're not shaking
Bro,
hands.
it's nuts. And for someone like myself, it's like I've accomplished a lot. If I sat here and ran through the checklist of, and it's like I see folks do one or two things and think that they can now start acting a certain way. And it's like, why do you even want to do that? I don't want to get successful to be a dickhead.
No.
I don't want to get successful to be like unapproachable.
Dude, successful to me is all of us smoking the same good weed at like nice event space like
You
Sesh
feel me,
House,
bro?
something like that. Like,
You and I are working right now.
exactly.
This is success to me. Having a good time with somebody I fuck with, talking some shit that someone can watch and learn from and burn from and earn from. Like, that's what the fuck we're here for, man. You know? Stand just stand on the concept of the industry as a whole and just loyalty. You're obviously doing your thing with Garden Greens. Like, where are you trying to be, say, 5 years from now?
I mean, hopefully still doing garden greens,
Hmm.
but I mean, you know, I've mentioned to you earlier, a lot of things you've done inspire what I want to do. And like, I want
Appreciate
my own
that, bro.
brand like that. Like,
Real shit.
I don't know what it is yet, but I want my own Mud Brothers
Hmm.
and I
Hmm.
want to find that lane to go that route
Hmm.
and still do what I do for garden greens.
Real shit. And listen, I'm gonna tell you the interesting thing, where like, and even in your situation, like your play is that.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is like you have a garden greens, which quintessential air, where it's like, yeah, my brand is here
Yep.
and you're gonna grow my brand.
Cause like,
You know
dude,
what I mean? Like,
for me at this point, the way things are going, been going, like all these blessings that keep falling in my life, thanks to garden greens
mhm,
and so on, is like, I don't want to go anywhere. This is home now.
yeah.
Like, I
I
want
like
to,
this.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I want to build
bro, you
something
know,
underneath.
and I'm glad you bring it up, right? Because this is a smoking business podcast, but we got to talk about the personal, emotional side of business, right? We're still human beings.
Yes,
People look at us as men, as business owners, as executives, as this and that. We're still men. We still got motherfucking emotions. I want to be in an environment that I like being in,
exactly.
if I can avoid it. Now, business is business. Sometimes you got to work with motherfuckers you don't want to work with. You can't avoid it all the time.
They're there.
They're there.
They're not going anywhere. There's more
You
coming.
know what I'm
Like,
saying? But if I can have a crew of people that, if nothing else, we're happy around one another. We actually like being around one another. If I say, shit, guys, we got to go extra 2 hours,
yep.
they're not like, fuck my life. You know what I mean? Like, and you mentioned before, like treating everyone like from the janitor to the CEO the same exact way. I too am very faith based, right?
Hmm.
I'm not gonna say I go to church all the time and this and that,
Me
but
neither.
I do believe in just treating people right is really where your blessings come from.
Dude, it's all about loving each other, no matter what. Like,
You know?
there's too much bullshit going on out in the world and outside of weed, so just get along.
Mhm.
You know, that's what we got into weed for, is because weed brings us all together.
No, real shit. Now, these days, bro, I'm a little bit 50-50 on it, right? Where like a part of me is like, yeah, love each other. But
Hmm.
another part of me is like, all right, if this is what motherfuckers want to play,
Dude,
well,
I
yeah,
you're preaching to the
you know
choir
what I'm
on that
saying?
one.
Because it's just like the nice guy shit just only gets you but so far.
Hmm.
They only get you but so far, man. And this industry is so hard. I think when people start to peel back the onion, we were talking about Darsh earlier, and how much
Yo,
shout out to
I
shout,
have to say, like, quick story with Darsh, dude.
okay,
She's like my weed mom.
okay.
And so much to the point, like, my mom's getting into cannabis now. Sorry to put her business on blast.
Shout out to
But
mom.
she was doing the wrong thing. She didn't know where she was buying, didn't know what products she needed. The only person I trusted was Darsh.
Yeah, seriously though.
She shopped my mom through, my mom went to Joy Leaf. She
Hmm.
shopped with Darsh. Like, that woman is incredible.
You know, she was here not too long ago, to do the pod, and we talked about just that fact that like she is that person that really can
Yeah.
introduce anyone to the plant.
It's just her aura, bro. Like,
Her aura, but she's also a ganjier.
mm-hmm.
She's extremely knowledgeable, personable, and she's done different things in her past that have prepared her to be what
Exactly.
she is now. And we said she's super humble. Where if Darsh came out and told you what she was and what she did and how she does, you would freaking fall out of your seat.
Hmm.
So like, pay attention to those people who aren't talking shit and doing work. It's a
Exactly.
lot of people doing a little work, talking a lot of shit. I'm being real. Check the people that are doing a lot of work and talking a little shit, because a couple years it's going to be a different story.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, man. I mean, for someone like yourself, I want to talk weed for a little bit. Let's get off the business shit and just talk some smoke. here on the Smoking Business Podcast.
All right, this is where I really shine.
Yeah, we're gonna get deep too, man, because I like you. You are someone I look at as a real connoisseur of the plant, someone that appreciates different varieties, different eras of the plant. I need to know your top three strains and why. I need to know right now.
I love this question. So now it does go. You can ask me this question 7 days a week.
Okay,
It may change all seven.
that's cool.
I hate to do it. Everyone that'll watch this is gonna be like typical East Coast kid, but number one for me is sour.
Number one, if you can
Number
smoke
one.
anything in the world.
Anything in like I'm talking desert island, so on, sour diesel.
Okay,
And
okay.
like I hate to break it to everyone, it's gone.
Hmm.
And we need to stop this. I want the old sour back because it's gone, but just learn to appreciate the new sour.
Yeah,
You know,
I enjoy the new sour.
I don't care. It's sour to
I
me.
enjoy it. Yeah, I enjoy it.
But yeah, sour is a number one for me. Shit, man. Number two is kind of current. I love Gary Payton.
Oh man, that's
Like,
well. Depends on what Gary Payton you're talking about.
I'm just saying, any well executed Gary.
Okay, so all day stream.
I could do it morning, afternoon,
Yep,
nighttime. It does what I want it. And then three, very, very new. And we just put one out in test kitchen, but the candy fumes is a top three
candy
for
fumes.
me.
What's the genetics on that?
That's a Skittles time Banger.
Oh man, I'm into the Skittles right now.
Dude, and I hate to admit it, but like that Z Terp just
Uh-huh.
does it for me right now.
Everything else is fucking candy, bro.
And once again, to go back, like I said, he's a great mentor. Josh's all time is Z.
Okay.
And dude, he's got some real Z that he breaks me off time to time. And there's nothing special about Z, the way it looks. Like the nose is crazy.
Yeah.
It changes your life every time you smoke
Oh my
it.
god, it's the best, bro. It opens the world up.
Yeah, it's a
It's
self-reflecting,
like
like
woof.
it's a talk to yourself and God at the same type of smoke.
It puts
And
you in like the best spirit.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm big on Z's.
Right now, bro, that knapsack I showed you is probably nothing but Z in that
Mhm.
motherfucker, bro. All different varieties of it.
I'm big on too. I love gelatos, especially the 41.
I'm gonna tell you. All right, so this is a sad story because my brother would tell you I was I was Mr. Gelato from
Mm-hmm.
the time it came out to maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Man, they bought lemon cherry gelato out. It changed my life.
Well, that's another thing to bring up on. And I know I told you earlier, I told him I would like drop a little something, but lemon cherry is a special one for me
Mhm.
too. And I do a lot of like work with, and he calls me a lot with David from Prolific.
Okay.
Not sure exactly when this episode may drop before it does or after, but they're putting a strain out David's naming for me.
Okay.
Just because of all the work we've done together,
That's
and
hard, man.
we're putting out lemon crusty gelato.
Lemon crusted gelato.
So
That's hard.
it all goes back to LCG.
That's
But
hard, man.
sorry to cut you
Nah,
off.
you ain't cut that. That's what's up, man. That's
I just
hard.
wanted to get, David's done a lot for me. Like you seen what we did when we were at Zen Leaf,
For
when
sure.
you
For
and I
sure.
had met. So like for that to happen, I just wanted to get people excited when they check this out.
Nah, man. That's dope, man. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, they ruined it for me, man, because lemon cherry gelato came out, changed my life, and then they just started doing all kind of weird shit with gelato.
Everything.
All kinds of
It
weird shit.
went from everything is like the gelato, a 41, a 33, and then you had LCG,
And then it just poof.
LCZ,
Bro,
LC,
but
yeah,
prior to lemon cherry gelato, to your point, it was just legit. Larry
yeah,
Bird,
that's it.
41. If you had some Larry Bird, for those that don't know, Gelato 33 is Larry Bird. That was, I mean, I would pay whatever, I would drive whatever.
Yep,
I mean, man, I went on road trips to get some fucking Larry Bird. Then they dropped LCG. I'm super excited. Okay, look at the possibilities. And then they just went left and they fucked gelato up for me. And now today I
yeah.
can't stand gelato.
I mean, now too, dude, I've gotten big into the rosins now. Like
Hmm.
the level of flavor you're getting out of those dabs is
Oh my God.
it's crazy, and I really got to chill with them. But like, I'm getting big into hash, so now like it's kind of weird. It changes my palate from a typical East Coast like give me sour, give me chem. When I buy rosin, I want that Z.
Yeah.
Like, give me the
Yeah.
candiest sounding name you got. I don't want no funky shit,
Uh-huh.
no gas.
Yeah, real shit.
But
So look, I'm not gonna lie to you. That shit I just gave you, that zero gravity live resin,
that's a GMO. That's gonna be some funk.
that's gonna be funky. I mean, that's funky.
I can't wait
I
for that
mean,
though.
funky.
Like,
But now I know what you like. I'm gonna give you some of this cherry sunset next time I
oh,
see
dude,
you.
don't get me wrong. The GMOs and the
Uh
rosin,
huh.
give me that
Okay.
all
All
day.
right.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
Cool. Cool.
yeah.
Okay.
Nah, any gift is I'm an all-inclusive
Mm.
smoker at the end of the day.
Nah, real shit. Equal liberties, bro. You know what I'm talking about? So man, before we get you out of here, bro, like tell the people where they can find you. On Instagram, social media, what you got going on.
Instagram's the biggest one. Me personally, at Crusty_ill. There's two separate Garden Greens pages because I don't know what happened. Instagram locked one up, and
Okay.
then 3 months later was like, "Yo, here's your account back."
Oh wow.
Garden Greens NJ, Garden Greens period NJ. Follow those two,
Okay.
and the Test Kitchen NJ on Instagram. That's our test kitchen spot.
Okay. All right, cool, man. Last question, then you out of here. Um, what do you say to someone watching this that's in the same position you were in a few years ago, at a dispensary, at a retail location, doing something there, maybe looking to do something a little bigger and looking to kind of for their pathway, how they're gonna get out of their situation to elevate and do something that makes them as happy as you are right now.
Remain two things: teachable and available.
Hello.
That's the biggest thing from what got me of like fresh in recovery, getting a job at Zoomies. Like, I didn't know shit. I was willing to learn and listen whatever you needed to teach me and apply it and just be available.
No, real shit,
Show up
bro.
for that shift. Like, it might suck. You might want to get out of it, but
Mhm.
like still show up because you never know what's going to happen that day.
And guys watching this, man, he's spot on, right? I always say you gotta always be a student. I
Yeah.
don't give a shit how big you get, what you got going on. Always be a student, always be willing to learn. You can learn from anybody. And availability, is everything.
Yep.
Showing up. Half the battle is just showing up all the time,
Dude, that
consistently.
like with what I've said with you of like my background, where I came from to get to this point is like all I did was show up.
Hmm.
Like I worked a Zoomy sales kid job until I became a manager
Hmm.
just by showing up.
Hmm.
I know how to sell t-shirts. Like
Real shit.
you're hitting it right on the
Real
head.
shit. Applying for those dispensary jobs.
Yep.
Like showing the fuck up, going to those interviews, showing the fuck up, following up on emails, showing the fuck up, doing
Mm-hmm.
your fucking job, showing the fuck up.
Exactly.
Moral of the story, show the fuck up. All right, guys, another episode of the Smoking Business Podcast. Your boy Brendan Robinson. Make sure you like this, subscribe, tap in with us. You know the vibes. It's muddy season. Let's get it. We out of here.